It is always nervously exciting when you try something new, and today I'm trying something new, and I really hope that you guys like it. Hello friends, happy Friday, so excited that you're here. I am still recovering from this virus, so I do apologize if I sound a little bit weird. Feeling a lot better, and I wanted to film this video because I was afraid if I didn't, I would forget. Not about filming the video, but I wanted to try something new in that my friend Danielle, she suggested or she mentioned like, hey, have you thought about doing first impressions of a variety of manga in one video? I know she geeks out that she does, I think it's sort of like a series. Occasionally she'll do these videos of like, I tried 21 volumes so you didn't have to, and then she gives a first impression for each of those. I find those really helpful, and Danielle mentioned the same kind of thing, that these could be very helpful. I actually really love filming first impression videos, but I struggle with filming them because I love filming a video review when the entire series is complete. So I sort of struggle with like, well, if I filmed a first impression, do I really need to film a video for when it's completed? The answer would be yes. At least I feel it would be, but my brain wrestles with this. So I thought it'd be fun to do a 3-in-1 kind of combo of first impression, and you guys can tell me what you think. I'm gonna leave timestamps down to all of the manga that I'm talking about. So if you're like, oh, I want to hear thoughts on this, or like, oh, I don't want to hear thoughts on this, I don't want any kind of influence and want to go in blind, then you can skip ahead, go backwards if you went forwards, and whatnot. So I guess we'll just sort of start in the order that I read these. The first one that I read before I got sick, and it was amazing, and that is Diary of a Female Lead. I was gonna say volume 1, but this is the first impression. I already said that, my bad. But this is a new shoujo that just dropped from 7 Seas. It is about this young woman here who sort of lives as what she feels is like an NPC. She feels like she can never have that or be that heroine in a shoujo manga that's very sparkly, very popular, has plenty of friends, and just feels so much love. She doesn't feel she'll ever be able to be that kind of person. Well, enters this guy here, I think his name is Senna, I think is how I say his name. This guy here, he is very good friends with her older brother who is on the basketball team. He is hilarious, by the way, but he is, I think they're both freshmen. The main female lead and him are both freshmen. They are in the same class and they sit side by side. She finds out that, yeah, he's her brother's friend because he comes over to dinner, and her brother's like, our mom's a mangaka, she writes shoujo, you need to have your own kind of romance. And she's like, what? So with the help of Seina here, him and her brother decide to help her find a boyfriend, more or less. Find her first love, true love kind of thing. And that is sort of where this volume or this series begins. I will say I loved everything about this. I really loved the characters, the story, the plot, loved all of that. But honestly, the thing that stood out to me the most, the thing I walked away with and got very emotional about, is the power of shoujo. Maybe that sounds really cheesy or corny, but there was just something very special about reading this. I do think because her mom is a mangaka, and seeing how like there was a line that she says that she has been standing with young girls in love for 20 years. And all we hear, female lead, is thinking like, wow, I thought my mom just wrote shoujo manga, but she really believes in love and wants to see young girls find love and just be full of joy and happiness. And so I feel like that really wove into this story in a different kind of way than I've seen in other series where I have definitely felt that power of shoujo, so to speak. Like Queen's Quality is a great example. I have really felt how powerful that series is and has impacted me. But I think seeing more of the nuances of maybe shoujo cliches or how to write shoujo or having the sparklies, or, you know, like a great example too is Aoi when she's reading it, because they're like, oh, her brother's like, let's read some shoujo manga for inspiration of how you can find a boyfriend and, you know, what your type is. The first thing that she sees when she's reading this shoujo manga before even getting a boyfriend is she needs a friend, because she is very much a loner at the beginning of this series. She doesn't talk to anybody. I think she said it's been like 2 months since school started. She hasn't talked at all, hasn't made any new friends, and she wants a friend. But I think, as Seina said, she has built up these walls around herself that are making it very hard for her to reach out and to start connecting with people. And when she has an opportunity, she feels she flubbed it it when she didn't mean to. But Sena here, I loved his character. I really love how he is just helping Aoi, and how by the end, I really feel like the tables turn, and I've sort of got that vibe where he's like, I don't know if I want to help her get a boyfriend because maybe he wants to be the boyfriend for her. 100% on board. I'm on board. I'm on board a whole bunch for that. Again, really loved his character. Love Aoi, and just seeing already the subtle growth and development that's happening in her. I think if there's anything that I would point out that I know I'm not going to be a fan of, I mean, is that Aoi, she's going to get a makeover. And you know what that means. That means her glasses are going to have to go. I can foresee that being the one thing that I don't love about this series. I feel like how this makeover is going to take place will be a very natural thing that happens, but that doesn't mean I want her to lose her glasses. And shout out to the one character who was like, you look cute. And I'm like, thank you. She looks cute with her glasses. She doesn't have to remove them to be cuter. I was really thankful for what that character said. So very much and strongly would recommend this first volume. It was everything. I had a wonderful time. I was giggling. I was squealing. I have butterflies in my stomach. Eagerly cannot wait for volume 2. Now, this next manga is not a shoujo. It is a seinen. And shout out to my friend Being Queenie, because I don't remember when. It's been a little bit, and that's sad to say, but she reached out to me and she's like, hey, I would love to gift you this digital manga. And she's like, would you be interested? I'm like, I would definitely be interested, because she was like, it's a sci-fi kind of story. And I'm like, it's been a hot minute since I have read any sci-fi. And at that time, I had not read Sazen and Comet Girl, which I talked about in my reading wrap up, because I loved the sci-fi vibes of that story. It was amazing. And so the story that she gifted me was volume 1 of Your Forma. Now, this is not a new volume. I didn't know it actually came out in January of 2023, and we're supposed to get volume 2 next January. Like 2 years? Like that's quite the wait. And volume 2 and 3 have been out, I think, since the end of last year in like Japan. Please bear with me as I talk about this, because I loved it. I thought it was incredible, but I don't feel it is my strong point to able to do a good job in like talking about sci-fi stories and how to explain it. I enjoy reading them, but yeah, I just really struggle. So I'm gonna do my best. Also, I have not written a written review for this one or the one I'm gonna talk about after this, because that was the day I was most sick, but I was gotta tell what it's about first, and then I'll say my thoughts, because I was about to start rambling. But it is about this electronic investigator who's sort of like a detective, because in this world, people can get what's called a Your Forma. It is a very thin string that is implanted in the brain, and it stores like all of your memories and different sensories. When our main female lead here, she is, as I said, an electronic investigator, there is a crime that takes place, and the I guess you'd say the police, they call on these investigators to come and dive in to the Your Forma to see if they can find clues as to, like, say if somebody was murdered, who was the one that did it, or if there's something happening to this person, how can they help fix them? A great example and a really big plot point in this story is there is a virus that is happening like in the Your Forma that is causing the people infected to have real life hypothermia. They're not even in a setting or in a place where they should be having physical elements of hypothermia, but yet here they are. So it's her job to dive into this. The problem is when you go diving into this Your Forma, you need 2 people. She's the diver, and then you need someone that's at the, I guess you would say, up above on the surface to, you know, make sure that they're doing okay in regulating, you know, like their health and everything, and be able to pull them back. Well, she is such a genius, as they call her, and so, I'm not gonna say smart, but she is very smart, but she's so good at this. But the thing is, though, is she is hurting her partners, not purposely. I'm not quite sure how it works, but when she's diving, it affects her partner, and they all end up in the hospital. Well, the police here, or the department, is like, we have the perfect solution. We're gonna give you this guy here, and his name is Harold. Problem is, for her, not for me, because I loved Harold, but problem for her is he is a sentient robot, and she hates these sentient robots with all of her being. We don't know why yet. I feel like there are some clues pointing at the end of this volume that explain why she may not like sentient robots, but she doesn't want to work with Harold, period. But he's the best partner for her. And so that's sort of where this story begins, and I was really afraid at first. There were some, for the lack of a better way of explaining it, big words in the beginning, and I was sick, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to comprehend this, but shout out to, I guess, the creator or to the manga artist putting database, a glossary more or less, for people like me who need to refer to that, because yeah, I had to refer to that, and I was completely fine with that, and everything was making sense, everything was flowing and moving forward, and it was actually really fast, or it was actually really quickly that I got very invested in this story. I feel like it just throws you in. I mean, it does give you some information, so like it explains right from the first page of what the Forma is, so that you understand why our female lead is this electronic investigator, what is happening, that there are other robots. Honestly, at first, it reminded me a little bit of iRobot, just in the sense where you have that one robot that was sentient, and how the main guy that Will Smith played on, I don't know what the character's name, I just remember is Will Smith, but how he hated robots and he had some kind of backstory that influenced that, but they ended up working together. I do feel like this is going to be like a general similar premise. Your Forma is definitely very different. It has its own uniqueness, but it did give me that vibe, and I was totally cool with that because I really love the movie iRobot. I think it's really good, and it's one I've watched a few times and never get bored despite knowing what happens next. Anyway, you didn't ask for that ramble about iRobot, but I really loved our female lead. I have not read a lot of, not to say detective stories, but I feel like how our female lead acts, she reminds me of a very brooding kind of male detective, where he keeps his feelings very close to himself, doesn't want to befriend anybody, and acts unfeeling. She reminds me the same way, and I just love that we had a female protagonist having those kind of qualities and distinction, because I personally have not seen that in a female investigator the same way I have in this story. So I definitely was on board. I really loved her, but Harold, I feel like Harold stole the show for me, honestly. I love Harold, and I told my friend, I was like, I feel a little bit delulu. I am shipping a robot with a human. I'm like, this is a first for me, but Harold is so funny, and for a robot, like, the dude is such a flirt, and he really knows how to, I feel like, push our female leads buttons really, really well. It's funny to me, but I feel bad for her. He's also got this very great awareness and can like quickly analyze situations where he just knows what's up, because when they first meet, he is able to tell her so much, like how he knows so much about her without doing any behind the scenes investigation on her to get to know her as a person. Like, he just knew from that first meeting the way that she acted, different mannerisms, and I was like, this is a little bit scary that he's able to gather all this information and make his own conclusions, and the conclusions be right. And that definitely continued on as the story went on, and I really, really loved the investigation that they had. It made sense, and I appreciate that, because I'm not big brain when it comes to mysteries. I enjoy reading them, but I'm never right about who the guilty party is. But I thought it interesting of how it felt like, yes, this is a sci-fi world. It's sort of set in a future, but it'd be like its own alternate universe at the same time. But it felt so realistic and could be very real, like real life kind of thing. Because with the Your Forma, I don't want to go too much into details about it because it'd be spoilers, but how they were able to compare it to something modern, and how steroids, for example, and how it affects the body, and how the Your Forma with biohackers can create a similar phenomenon of like what, or is it, did I use that word right? But a similar reaction, I think is the right word, that say that steroids have on people in real life. I think I'm using that comparison right. Hopefully I am. So I really like that. I love the case. It was very hard at times seeing our female lead just internally shut down, especially when it was getting to the end of that mystery of like where everything is weighing on this moment, and Harold has been engraved basically like, you will not harm humans, you will obey humans, and there's like one other rule that the robots have to have, and she's like, you're only acting this way because basically you have been engraved into your data and whatnot that you have to do this. And she needs him to override that basically and do exactly what she's saying for the sake of this case. And so that was very fascinating, and it just kept picking up in pace and anticipation, and then it got to the end and it left on such a cliffhanger, and I was like, we're about to get answers, but it ends, and because the person at the end is a character I never expected. So I am very excited and eager to pick up volume 2. I am so bummed. Like, Like, I was crestfallen the day that I found out that this manga is only 3 volumes. Yes, I know that there are light novels and they're ongoing by Yen Press, but I feel like I have zero confidence in myself to actively pick up the light novels and read them. I've only been able to commit to one series, and I did a review earlier this year. I just don't feel confident that I will get them. And maybe I need to see if my library definitely has them, because depending on how volume 3 ends, I really feel like this is a series I'm not going to be content to just stop at the manga, that I'm going to want to get and want to read more, because I just really loved Harold and the female lead, the way that they interacted, and honestly the way they worked so well together, and that the female lead wrestled with that and seeing, yeah, we really are compatible and we work so well. So I would definitely recommend this manga if you're looking for a sci-fi story, that you want something that is not overly sci-fi in the sense where there's a lot of heavy terminology and you need to be able to analyze and break down information very quickly. Again, as I said before, somebody who's not big-brained, I didn't struggle with that at all or anything. And you want something that's action-paced and leave you on the edge of your seat. Your Forma is such a good one to try. And if you'd rather check out the light novels, definitely know that they are available from Yen Press. Or if you just want to check out volume 1, again, I would recommend that as well, because the art was perfection. And for my third and final first impression is sort of a 2-in-1 in itself, because it's an omnibus. And I'm going to say Colette Decides to Die. I did get this. I was influenced for sure. Though it's funny because Colleen Rex, I think is her username. I'm forgetting the name of her channel though, but I know, I'll leave it the quarter. She is the biggest fan of this series, and definitely I think is the one who got this license in English and influenced other people to beg, bother, and keep pestering Viz Media until we got it. And I could say I'm so very glad that they did. So if you were like me and you just didn't know anything about this except for that people wanted it licensed, it is about our main young woman here. Her name is Colette, and she is a healer / apothecary. She is very much overworked and works all the time in this small village, and she just sort of reached her breaking point and asking, what am I doing? Why am I working this hard? Because she's not able to sleep, she's not able to eat, and just has no time to herself. And that includes like just going to the bathroom. And so she sees this well, and she remembers a rumor that the well could take you to another world, and so she falls in on purpose. And she thinks, well, maybe she died. She's actually taken to the underworld, where she meets Lord Hades. And Lord Hades is not who she thought he would be, because he's also overworked and he's having some kind of skin reaction that is causing him to have this really bad rash. He's also having a fever and a few other ailments. And she's like, well, regardless that I'm in the underworld, I'm going to help take care of you and nurse you back to health. And she thinks when she goes like above ground, because she's back to where the village is, that she thinks everything's sort of going to go back to normal, but she continues to meet with Lord Hades and continue to treat him. And so begins their story, which I'm pretty sure is a love story, and I'm 100% here for it. Now, I think I shared it before. This is when I did not write my written review yet, and I had wanted to, but I was like, it's either I write that and that's all the time I have, or I film this and that's all the time I have. I'm like, well, let's go with the video. I was very, very impressed with this first volume, or I'm just gonna call it 1 volume. It's 1 and 2 technically, but we're just gonna call it 1 volume for the sake of this video. I was so impressed with how heartfelt and touching and really emotionally stirring this first volume was. I was not prepared for that. I really don't know what I was expecting. I knew it had the Greek mythology, which was not a selling point for me, because I personally am just not a fan of mythology in general. Like, the only time I can actively remember ever being really interested in mythology was like in middle school when we talked about Egyptian mythology. I thought that was cool, and I'm pretty sure it's because cats were involved. But anyway, so I felt a little bit unsure there. I don't remember half of the Greek mythology in general, so I can't comment on that, except for I really did love Lord Hades. He is a very interesting character. I'm excited to see more of him. But the story itself, I feel like the themes was my biggest takeaway with this, because there's such encouragement to not live your life just full of regrets or focusing on those regrets, being thankful for humanity and how humanity comes together and stands strong and rebuilds with one another when things happen. Like, Like there was a scene where these wind gusts came and it destroyed or it ruined like this booth. Colette and Hades are watching on, and somebody comes and rushes over and starts helping this man that had this damaged booth. That's when Hades is like, I like humans. And I thought that very interesting because he's the god of the underworld and he probably doesn't like humans. I don't know. That's what I thought when I first read it. And so to see him not fit what I thought he would be going in was very refreshing for me personally. He gets really grumpy a lot, but he's very serious about his job, which him being a workaholic, I mean, I guess that'd be a sign, but I feel like he believes in what he does and he goes out of his way to make sure that the verdicts that he's giving on these trials is the most accurate that it can be, and then he knows everything so that he's not wrongfully giving verdict to these people. And it spoke a lot about his character when it came to that. Colette herself was very interesting, and it was something else seeing a story start where a heroine is questioning her life. I felt very uncomfortable at first, honestly. I felt slightly triggered because even though it's not graphic, it's just the idea of like on the cover here, she looks so bright and happy. And it's just like, why do you feel this way? I don't want you to feel this way. I think that was something I also walked away with is take pride in the work that you do. It is something you should be very proud of, but don't let that pride lead you not to asking help for other people or thinking, well, they can't do it as well, so I have to do it all myself. No, you don't need to do that either. Being able to recognize, acknowledge, and take action to give your body rest. And also to not just go through the motions. Like in the beginning, I feel like Colette, she is, yes, an apothecary, but she has been struggling so long and just sort of like coasting, it feels like. She loves helping people, but it was sort of like she forgot her why she's helping people, why she decided to get to this point and continue to be an apothecary. I thought that was also very, very touching. I mean, there were honestly many moments where I felt like I just had self-reflection from different conversations or different actions that left me like, whoa, I didn't expect that, and catch myself getting very teary-eyed. I took quite a few pictures. I can't access them because they're on my phone and I'm filming, but like here is one right here that I really loved. It's Colette and she is deciding if she should get something and she's like, I can't abide it. I won't abide it. Life isn't always happy, but if we've received the gift of life, we might as well spend it smiling. And I think that was something that's really emphasized is choosing joy in your life. Even if you're like Colette and you're working hard and you're not getting maybe the proper rest that you need because of your job, you can still find joy in the small things. And she does. It doesn't mean she doesn't have bouts of loneliness, because it definitely was hard when they're having this festival and Lord Hades came at just the right moment. I was so thankful because she did feel loneliness in that moment. And I'm really hoping that she won't continually feel lonely, because I love the underworld. I love our dog, or dogs, I should say. The skeletons were everything. One of my favorite scenes or favorite parts is when Colette meets a different skeleton that she hasn't met thus far, and she finds out that they have a certain profession. She was like, you need to take pride in what you do, and I'm going to do everything I can to help you to get Lord Hades to see, we'll say, a certain thing for a certain event to keep it spoiler free. I really, really loved how touching that entire moment was. Lord Hades is not heartless at all. Maybe it would seem like he is because he's the god of the underworld, but he's not. And I really liked how that was reaffirmed in the first volume of this omnibus, because Colette is kidnapped more or less, and it was like, oh my goodness. And by a character I never expected at all. Like that was good. That was good. That was pretty shocking. He makes a comment later. He's like, no more cold calculations. And so I really feel like there's moments where you can see that he's not this maybe cold and unfeeling person. Like, no, he's not. And Colette is full of so much energy, but she's also very relatable because she has those moments of, like I said before, feeling lonely and then questioning, why is she doing what she's doing, and is it worth it? And even just when it came to being a healer itself, that journey, that arc in the first volume, and her realizing why she decided to become an apothecary healer, whichever. I feel like the manga uses both terms, but how, you know, remembering her why, all of that. I felt the growth was just so very good, and again, made her very relatable, and really loved the art. It was very cute. It was bright and refreshing, but it was also very, I'm trying to think of another way to describe it. And the action scenes were really good. I guess I'll just show a picture of the cute little skellies because they're so adorable. I guess this is about the best example I can give, but there's one of the skeletons and I love them. I did love the sidebar that happened earlier, or was earlier in the volume. Creator was saying how like, oh, I think I'll give him a skeleton. She drew a real lifelike one. She's like, no. And so they turned into this, and they were wonderful. I love their interactions with Colette, and very excited to see more of this world. I'm really excited to meet other characters, and definitely very much shipping Colette and Hades. Very, very much. I feel like they're gonna have a slow burn kind of relationship, and I honestly feel like how things are now, it is just so beautiful. It's gonna be so beautiful and satisfying to see, because both of them are workaholics, and Lord Hades, like, you're telling me not to work too much or, you know, overwork, but yet here you are right here, because there is a time where she just falls asleep on his bed, and the skeletons, his servants, are so mad. Like, what are you doing? Show more respect. You can't do this. So lots of really great moments. I think this is one to have tissues on hand just in case, because even though it's not a sad read, again, I just felt like it causes a lot of self-reflection and is very encouraging and very heartfelt. And again, I never expected that. I thought this would be like a fun and cute story. I saw somebody review on Goodreads that said this is like Snow White with the Red Hair meets the Apothecary Diaries, and that does feel a little bit accurate to me. Definitely gives me a lot of Snow White with the Red Hair vibes, but Colette reminds me more of like the Apothecary Diaries, just not quite that unhinged. Definitely can be overly excited at times, so, but you want some Greek mythology, then yeah, this is one I would definitely recommend. I'm also planning to get volume 2 of this because, again, I love this story and everything, but the themes really spoke to me, and I just feel like this is one I would come back to when I need a pick-me-up and need some encouragement. And that, my friends, wraps up my review of the 3-in-1 here in your Forma, though I can't show it since it's digital. I really enjoyed all of these. This was a huge win. I feel like for me, I went in blind with Colette, and I sort of went in blind with Diary of a Female Lead. Somebody recommended it to me though, and I trust their recommendations, but I'm blanking on who it was, so I do apologize. And trying your Forma and loving this sci-fi story, even if not shoujo, like, I'm really excited for that as well. So let me know down below if you've tried any of these manga. What did you think of them? Would you like me to continue doing this kind of series? Let me know. And again, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!